All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to begin here in about 30 seconds. Ensure that your cell phones are on vibrate or silent, and council members, ensure your microphones are turned on. All right, today's Monday, March 4th, 2024. Today is a committee of the whole meeting for Barberton City Council. Before we begin the committee of the whole meeting, though, we do have individual committee meetings this evening. And we will start with street, sidewalk, and lighting with Ms. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to bring the Streets, Lighting, and Sidewalks Committee to an order. Today is Monday, March 4th, 2024 at 6:05. We are in council chambers. All of the members of my council, all the members of my committee are present. All other members of council are present, and the others noted on the sheet. Today we don't have any requests for legislation at this time. We don't have any pending legislation. Are there any remarks from the committee? Any remarks from the council? And then from the body? There you go. Come on up to the podium up here, or this one there.
So I wrote a letter to Councilwoman Gerhardt, and I wrote it about adding a crosswalk between the sports complex and Hoppekin Avenue, or West Hoppekin. And I wanted to add a crosswalk there because I always see people walking around the sports complex, and there's no crosswalk there, and there's no crosswalk anywhere on West Hoppekin until you go down to the YMCA. So I thought it would be safer for everybody to have one there, or have a crosswalk by where 15th and Hoppekin meet. That's all. That's good.
Finishing writing what you were saying. Do we have, I was going to ask Tia Ducky, do we have anything that has plans to put any sort of crosswalks there?
Let me take a look at it and let me report back,
Okay.
what we could do and where there would be an appropriately placed crosswalk in and around that area.
Okay.
Good suggestion.
Yes, it is very good. Thank you. We didn't catch your name.
Alana Brademeyer.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Beth, Emily.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry.
I believe there are plans to move the crosswalk down. Are those still in effect, not directly there at the corner where the Y is, but down more past like Summit DD? Is that still happening?
So as part of the improvements that is going to happen later this year, that crosswalk will be relocated. And I'll get a better drawing of that area, but further up by the complex and some of the other areas we can certainly look into too.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
A second.
We are adjourned at 6:08 p.m.
Thank you, Mrs. Beck. Next up is Environmental Health and Social Services with Mrs. Hager.
Thank you, Mr. President. Calling the Environmental Health and Social Services Committee to order. The date is March 4th, 2024 at 6:09 p.m. in council chambers. All members of my committee are present, including me as chairman, Shorter Griffin, Taylor Thompson and Justin Greer. All other council members are present, as well as guests noted on my sheet. We have no request for legislation at this time and no pending legislation. Do I have any miscellaneous remarks from my committee? Mr. Greer?
Thank you, Chair. Just curious if you've heard anything about any MAD meetings starting up for springtime?
No, I've not heard anything, but I think that's something I can definitely check
Okay.
into.
Are you are in touch with them?
No, but I can definitely get in touch with them.
Okay. I'll make sure too. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Make sure that you're on that because they're going to be starting up their meetings for the mosquito
Okay.
treatments and stuff here for spring.
Any comments from this council? From the gallery?
Mrs. Hager?
Oh,
Real quick,
Yes.
since this is for health, I do just want to note that the guidelines for COVID-19 have changed as far as what's like the recovery or whatever. Once you are fever-free for 24 hours, you're able to return to work, school, things like that. It's no longer 5 days isolation after that.
oh, wow. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Any comments from the gallery? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 6:11.
Thank you, Ms. Hager. Planning, annexation, and codes, Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, Annexation, and Codes is Monday, March 4th, 2024, 6:12 in council chambers. The committee is present, which consists of Councilors Harris, Thompson, President Greer, and myself. All others noted. And Councilor Cheatham, it feels good to check mark your name. Welcome back. We have one request for legislation. Letter from Stacy Carr, our strategic planner, requesting legislation to enter into contract with Butcher and Sons for the 2024 residential demolition program. Emergency wording is requested. Did everybody see the request letter? The price is the same as last year, so that's very nice. It's got quite a bit on the docket to be raised this year. I think it was 14 last year, which included 2 non-residential demolitions. She's got files for some, but they're held up in litigation. We know of a few of them, but hopefully that gets cleared up this year. Are there any questions from the committee?
Chair.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Chair. Do we have an actual number of the houses being raised?
For this year?
Correct.
I just got my iPad and I don't have the email set up, and it's in my
Okay.
in my email, but
I was just curious. Thank you.
She did email me with all the particulars.
Okay.
Director, do you, off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head. I don't know why. I think that she has 5 that are ready to come down almost immediately, with 3 being held up in court as we speak. I don't know how many more of those she has down the pipeline, but I can follow up with council on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
I can forward that to council too. I just, once again, I have to set up the email on
Yeah.
it. Just got it
Yeah,
tonight.
you got a nice shiny one. Yep.
Any other comments from the gallery? Seeing none, do I have a motion to call for this?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nothing else. For miscellaneous discussion, this month's Plan Commission meeting has been canceled. The next meeting will be April 17th. Director, do you have anything to add?
Not at this time, thank you.
Are there any comments for miscellaneous? Gallery? Once again, seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 6:14.
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. Last but not least, Finance and Personnel, Mrs. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. It is Monday, March 4th, 2024, 6:15 PM here in council chambers. All members of my committee are present, which includes myself as chair, Mr. Heidick, Mr. Griffin, and President Greer. All other council members are also present, and guests as noted on my agenda sheet. We have a few requests for legislation, the first being a letter from Lisa Kolish Miller, Law Director, requesting legislation approving payment to the Summit County Prosecutor's Office for $21,000 for the Direct Indictment Program. This will cover all 4 quarters of 2024. Emergency wording and 1 reading requested. Are there any questions about this requested legislation? Hearing none, can I have a motion to call, please?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, a letter from Stacy Carr, Strategic Planner, requesting legislation to pay an invoice to Retzel in the amount of $3,333.33. That was dated and invoiced prior to the purchase order being created. Emergency wording and 1 reading is requested. This one is for Economic Development Services. Are there any questions regarding this request?
Was this an
Yes.
invoice from, like, the end of last year, or do we know?
So the invoice unfortunately was dated for January 1st of this year, when the city building was closed, so we would not have been able to create the PO in time.
So it was for services at the end of last year, or?
It's covered, it was ultimately for January of this year.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion to call, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And a second?
A second.
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have a letter from Mayor Judge requesting a resolution to honor the 2023-2024 Barberton boys basketball team for their great season. Emergency wording is requested. I had the privilege of seeing most of their home games, and those boys did amazing, and they definitely deserve this. Are there any other questions or comments regarding this request? Hearing none, can I have a motion to call, please?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
I will second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to pending legislation. We've got ordinance number 14-2024 for the 2024 operating and capital budget. Are there any remarks regarding this? Okay. Ordinance number 15-2024 for the employee compensation and pay grades for non-bargaining employees. Are there any questions or comments regarding this? Yes, Mrs. Gerhardt.
I was wondering, I don't think, is Miss Eisman here?
No,
Okay.
don't see her.
So my questions that I had emailed over was basically if she could better explain point number 3 and 4. It looks like they must come to council and then changing it to May. So I was just wondering why they wanted to change it. And then for the next part, what is the criteria like for adjusting when they say they want to be able to adjust it in number 4? So do we just ask her next week maybe?
I don't know if somebody else can answer those questions, maybe Mr. Flaker. I'm assuming that they just don't want to require that they come to council up to step 4, but I'm not going to speak for Mrs. Eisman, of course.
Does someone have the, like, a printout of it?
I have the draft.
Okay, for number 3, changing it to, from must to may. So how the current pay plan is, so if you have someone being hired in pay grades 1 through 6, we have to hire them at step 1, regardless of their experience. So you could possibly bring in someone with 10, 15 years experience from another entity. And as long as they're in pay grades 1 through 6, we have to start them at step 1. So this is just asking that we can hire them up to step 4. So that way we can give a salary range when those positions do become available. We can say we can hire somewhere between $55,000 and $64,000 to potentially attract maybe more people to apply for the positions. And then, what was the other question that you had?
It looks like you guys have been bringing it to council. Why do you not want to bring it to council anymore?
So we weren't bringing it to council.
Okay.
So we were hiring everyone at step 1. The only time we would need to come to council is if we were wanting to hire them higher than step 1. So everyone, I think almost everyone that we hired here in the past several years between pay grades 1 and 6, we've hired them at step 1. I think the only time we came to council for an exception to that is, and I think it's even higher pay grades than those, were the building commissioner and city engineer. Those positions we came to council to get approval for because we wanted to hire above what we were authorized to do. So that, like I said, that's the reasoning why we want to change the word from must to may. And the only two that I know of in recent history was the building commissioner and city engineer to ask for council approval.
Okay.
So, all right.
Makes sense when you explain that. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Director, I got a question.
I want to go back to my microphone.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director, for that. I want to go a little step further with this, just to try to understand it a little better. Going from step 4, is this a timing thing? Are you not able to advertise a job description with a large enough salary range right off the get-go, or is this a timing thing because we were concerned, or have we had to turn down jobs offers before because we just didn't meet a time?
I can't answer if we turn down job offers, but I do know when we do advertise for positions in pay grades 1 through 6, we basically have to advertise it at the step 1.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, so.
So this, I mean, if you have someone with 5, 10, 15 years experience in government and they want to apply for that job, they might look at that step 1 wage and is like, you know, that's a $8,000 pay cut for me to take that position. I want to work for them, but I can't afford to lose out on $8,000. Now, if we can offer that range to them and hire them within that range at one of the steps, 1 through 4, we now can say, hey, we can offer you this position at this salary, but just note that if we advance place you on this scale, you're going to have to wait this many years until you receive your next step increase. So if we advance place them on at step 3, they'll have to wait until their 3rd year before they get that step 4 increase. So
Okay, so if memory serves me correctly, council approved the step approval before we even hired. Is that right? We approved it to make the offer. So I'm just playing devil's advocate here. And I understand the idea of being able just to go and throw a number out there, right?
I mean,
It makes it a lot simpler.
yeah, I mean, we could, but
we know right, we know a job is opening. We could just say, we want to offer it higher too as well. That's why I was asking if it was a time thing too, but I would just.
And it could be, I mean, maybe just so we could fill positions quicker.
Sure.
We
No,
might
it
be
makes sense.
Going that route too. I can't speak on behalf of the HR director, but I can offer you my opinion.
I appreciate it. No, it makes complete sense. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Yes.
On number 4 there about the appointing authority of those employees hired between January 1, 2021 and January 31, 2024, are you targeting certain employees to bump them up then?
You would have to ask the HR director. I can't answer it.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't remember the exact reason on that. So,
Okay. So like, it appears that maybe somebody that got hired at step one, you know, in December of 2023, you know, that you could bump them up without council's approval or anybody else's.
Yeah, like I
Just
said,
the appointing authority says, okay, you have step 4 pay.
When did that expire? When was the expiration on that?
As I say,
January 31, 2024.
if I'm not mistaken, Beth created this current pay policy, so it may have started at that date.
no, this pay
Not-
policy started back.
She made changes.
Did she?
Yes.
Because I know it was originally approved back in, the major change was back in 16 or 17 is when we did a big change on it. And then, yeah, did she?
She
made
modified
some-
something, so I mean, we would have to look through the ordinances, I'm sure. I mean, Lori, do you have any record of that? Is that something you can look for real?
Well,
Like, I could go, I have to go down to my own desk.
Yeah,
That's
it-
where the software.
we have a whole other week.
Yeah.
Precisely, it'll be in
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know that draft is modifying one previous to that, which undoubtedly modified one previous to, and they feed their way back. So I can go look it up like tomorrow morning and have it, or whoever.
We said the ordinance numbers if you want them.
I got it all.
I was gonna say. You got
I got it all.
Because it's back in 16, 17, and 22. I figured you did.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Flaker while he's up here?
You did a great job here.
Thanks for trying. Appreciate you.
Everyone should wish Mr. Flaker a happy birthday. His birthday was this past Saturday.
Well, happy belated, Mr. Flaker. Okay, then. Let's see, is there any other miscellaneous for finance? Are we gonna get into budget talks at this time?
You want to do that now?
We can,
We only have two topics.
yeah, let's go ahead and,
I said two topics, but multiple funds.
Your time's up,
Sure.
sorry.
So tonight, we're prepared to present utilities, which is going to be multiple funds, and then the planning department as well. So I'll bring Mr. Denny Weaver up to start off on the utilities budget. Todd Shreve may be helping as well. And again, as I said in the weeks past, if you have questions, please let us know what page number you're on, and then we can answer it a lot quicker.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. I'm planning on covering the administration budgets in water and sewer, the wastewater plant, water plant, industrial pretreatment, and then we'll go back and take a look at revenues for water and sewer. So there is quite a bit. And then Mr. Shreve is going to be covering the water distribution garage and sewer collection. I'd like to start on page 147. And this is a 515 account, so it's sewer. This budget is all on the administration side. The wages in this part of the budget doesn't cover any single employee at 100%. There's a lot of wage splits. The administration side covers, like, the mayor's office, HR, many in finance, as well as customer service in the utilities office, and many of the clerks in the finance department. They all provide services, utilities, so we have wage splits where we cover those individuals for the services they provide. Mayor's office administration, HR helps us with hiring, discipline, all of the regulations that we deal with there. And then customer service, we have everybody in the utilities office is either just 50% water or 50% sewer. Same with myself. So that's the way that those work. Is there any questions on the wage portion of that? And when we jump over to the water side, it pretty much mirrors this, so it'll be easier going through that budget. On the operation and maintenance portion of this budget, it covers much of the billing for our water and sewer. This side would be for taking care of the sewer, but they're pretty evenly split all the way down the line. So you have to have bills generated, we have meters that are out in the system, there's a structural backbone that's in place where we can download the meters from the individual's home. We don't send meter readers out. We haven't done that for many years. We collect that on data collectors. They're brought back into the office. The bills are generated. And much of that work is actually done in finance as well as in the utility office. There's memberships as part of that. Utility billing supplies, that's a line that's pretty much taken care of on finance. Postage, many bills go out, we have to cover all that. There's some easements that are in there, software maintenance, some IT issues. So all of this is in the administration budget. Do you see anything there that you have a question on?
Oh, I'm sorry. For the professional services,
Yes,
it looked like it went up a good amount this year.
it did. And that had to do, the biggest part of that increase had to do with cloud-based budgeting that was put in by the finance director. And you'll see a similar bump over on the water side as well. So it's, I think it's been a long time coming, and so we're looking forward to that change.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that portion? That's, if there isn't, let's flip over to page 155, and you'll see a very similar budget, and see if there's any questions on that one. Most of the weight splits are identical. There's some minor differences. If you go down the line, you'll see that many of the items are identical as well. The meter software, the stuff for IT, training and travel, utility billing supplies, postage, all very similar. Okay. Give you plenty of time to look it over. Any questions on that? Okay, from there, let's flip back and go to the wastewater treatment plant. And that's on page 149. Sorry that we're bouncing around a little bit, but this should make it a little bit easier to work through. Wastewater treatment plant. And so the wages are right at the top. We have 8 operators that are there. We have it also, much of our maintenance for the entire utilities department is based at the wastewater plant. And they have some weight splits as part of that too, because they're taking care of water issues and things as well. But we were 2 people short last year for much of the year. We had a transfer out of the wastewater plant, we had a retirement, and there was no one interested in coming to the wastewater plant that already was internal, so we had to go outside for those hirings. So we finally got those jobs filled towards the end of the year, so we are now at full staff. So that's why there was a bit of dip in the wages this past year, and that will get back more to normal this year. On the operation maintenance, there's some real differences in this when you compare it to something out of the administration. This is an operating treatment plant. It's much like you would have in a manufacturing facility. We have sludge disposal, So all of the solids and things that we bring in, those are taken to a landfill. There's testing, quite a bit of testing that takes place we do much internal at our analytical work, but we also have testing that we send out to private laboratories, and just the general operating supplies, with cleaning and that also has all of our laboratory chemicals that we buy, and and that's probably the biggest chunk of that particular line. Repair and maintenance supplies is always large. We've got over 100 pumps that are in the wastewater treatment plant, some very large ones. Pumps are up around the 5 million gallons each, multiple of those. And so much maintenance in that particular operation, much due to the environment that it's in. So whenever you're treating wastewater, you have a lot of sulfides, and that does cause quite a bit of deterioration to buildings and equipment. Chemicals is always a big item, not nearly as much as in the water treatment plant, but for chlorine bisulfides, we feed alum to remove phosphates, and polymers for dewatering sludge. So there's quite a bit of expense in the operation of that facility. Is there anything there that you'd like more information on individually?
Can you talk about the capital at the bottom?
Yes, that's the next thing I'm going to.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I was just looking at the O&M there now. And there is about $400,000 in there. The capital, on the 100,000 portion, we're looking at EQ pumps. There's 5 of them. We have some that need replaced, and when we replace those are over $20,000 a piece for the larger ones. Pretty close to 30 for the larger ones, and closer to 20 for the smaller. There is a decant pump that we have in our what we call dewatering building. That's where we dewater sludge before we transport it. That pump needs to be replaced. And also there's what we call a moino pump. It's a progressive cavity pump. It's kind of like a screw that forces it through. It's not the typical centrifugal pump. And they're pretty expensive, but they feed sludge at a very metered rate. And one of those needs to be replaced as well. And on the equipment furnishings portion down there, you see there's a $300,000 item. That is for a blower. These are like 3,600 CFMs. It is a very large blower. The motor and it would take up a good portion of this room for that blower. And it's coming near to the end of its life. We'll actually are going to have to remove part of the roof. Have it taken out with the crane. And then have another one set. So that's not just for the blower itself. It's actually a contractor to come with assistance, rewire it. There'll likely be additional controls that have to be replaced. So it's a good size project. And also, there's a couple more projects that don't show here. One is pretty large. We just went through a major improvement at the wastewater treatment plant, and we've been going through this for the last 20 years to try to bring everything up to date as much as possible. This was the third phase. A big part of it was to rehab that building, the dewatering building. We had money in there for doing some structural repairs. As I said, with the sulfides in the air, we see a lot of deterioration with those buildings. When we opened up the walls, we found that the deterioration was much more than had been anticipated. So we brought in some structural people, the structural engineers evaluated that, and we brought in it was what's called a Butler building. It's the brand of the building that it was. They came in and evaluated, and we're looking at pretty much a replacement of that building, unfortunately. It was going to be close to $2 million if we tried to keep a bunch of the steel that was holding the building up. If we did a complete replacement, was about 2.1, and it's all under warranty then, so it would not be warranted if we just did the rest of it. Fortunately, we came into a nice grant last year, Ohio Build Grant, and those who were on council will know about that, but it was $3 million. So it was something that really helped us. So this big improvement here that we need with that building should be 100% covered with that grant. And other portions of that grant went to work that was still remaining in that, on that $7 million upgrade. But there's enough of that left that that'll cover that. So that was the good news with it.
Yeah.
But bad news, we had to do it, but great that we had the money available.
Absolutely.
And there was also, I know that many of you toured the wastewater facility. There's what we call a return screw pump. I know it's an odd name. It's a huge auger. It's 48 inches in diameter, about 25 feet long. Those need to be replaced. And so that's an $820,000 project. The reason it doesn't show here at this point is we are in the middle of an application from Ohio Public Works. We asked for $429,000. The rest of it we'd either cover with a loan or from the sewer fund. Depends on how all these other projects going to shake out and what the balance is. We really struggled this year to make this budget balance, and so we're just going to have to wait and see exactly how that bid comes in and if there's anything else that comes up along the way. But that is one that will be coming up this year too. It won't be able to wait, but we wanted to at least make that attempt for the Ohio Public Works funds. And we did score pretty well. We're just waiting on them to notify that we made the line to be funded or not. So that was all the capital that I had on wastewater plants. There's always a lot going on with these plants. And from there, let's just flip over to page 150, and that's industrial pretreatment. The industrial pretreatment program, I should have brought a glass of water, but is a program where we actually regulate the discharge from industries in town. We write them permits, we inspect them, we sample them, and from those samples, we charge extra strength surcharge if their discharge is stronger than domestic wastewater. And you'll see that in the revenue portion when we get to that. And so that's a program where we regulate all of these significant industrial users that are in town. We have an employee who coordinates that. He's a pretty sharp guy, got a class 3 wastewater working on his floor. He's got a degree from Ohio University, environmental degree. And then we have another person that works with him that also helps him with sampling. So both of those individuals work 50% on that program. The rest of the time, they're working in the treatment plant. And our pretreatment coordinator, Craig Stalder, he also assists in the management of that facility. So we're fortunate to have him, does a nice job. So any questions on that? The budget is mainly for laboratory work, and there's some repair and maintenance, and what that involves is the samplers. When we, the sample devices that we put out, sometimes they need some parts or replacement. And we subscribe to the Federal Register because that is where our regulations come from that we manage this program. This program is required by the EPA. It is very closely audited by them. They go through every paper, every inspection, and make sure that we are properly regulating and keeping our industry in compliance. Okay, from there, I'm going to skip over collection because Mr. Shreve is taking a look at that one. And let's go to the water treatment plant. And that is page 157. All right. And we still have one opening at the treatment plant. We had one employee that was stolen away from us, went to another community, and you know, we hated to lose because she was well on her way to get her class 4. So we wanted to have a backup for that, somebody for the future, but unfortunately we lost her. And we have added another operator that was due to a past retirement, but we still have that that opening to bring in somebody on that administrative side. You always need to be looking to the future, get people with the licenses, so that we are not out there looking to steal somebody from somebody else. We want to grow those people and, you know, to bring them along internally and be ready when those things happen. On the, any questions on the wages for the water treatment plant?
I got a question. You talked about the license and stuff. Do we help them?
Oh, yes.
Get that stuff?
Yeah, there's training. We send them to school, and we will help them gain those licenses. Every operator is required to at least have a class 1. If they can't get the class 1, you know, occasionally we have to, you know, return them back to the departments that they bid from. Don't like to do that, but if, you know, sometimes they just don't get it. And if you want to operate the facility, in other words, you are an operator in responsible charge, you need to have a class 4 license. That's the highest license that the state of Ohio offers. So we have a manager down there that has that license. We also have one that just recently got their class 4 in water. And I also hold a class 4 on the wastewater side, and I'm licensed on the water treatment as well. But that is something we always want to keep people moving along and encourage them to do so. So, yes. Anything else on that thing? Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Just to tap on that, do we have the employees that we help get education for? Is there a minimum requirement that they need to stay employed for the city of Barberton? Or we're just training them and?
Well, we help them get the license, but you have to keep up on that license too. Every 2 years, you have to have so many what you call contact hours. And so we'll send them to get training. We pay for that. And that keeps their license active. And then we pay for those renewals.
Okay, I guess
so every 2 years, they need to renew that license.
Okay. It's such a short license. Mayor, sorry.
On the college side, we do.
Yeah, okay, so there's a minimum retainment?
After they finish their
okay.
classes, there's a minimum of 3 years.
Right. I guess what I was alluding to is we don't want to train them up and then have them stolen from us all the time, right?
Oh, yeah, you don't want that. Right.
Yeah. We don't want to be the ones that, it's awesome we're doing that, but longevity.
All right. So, yeah, on that, you know, there's the training and travel budget. We have the professional services, and that is also support on operational control. Occasionally there are issues. We keep, there's a professor at Akron University who has a company called Fontes Blue, and we use them for consulting on things like algae blooms, on treating that, the most effective way to do it. And that's been very effective on keeping some of the chemical costs down. And we're also going to be replacing what we call a high service pump at the water plant as well. There's down on the capital part, you'll see there's $180,000 set aside for that. We'll also need some professional services on that. We'll have to bid that, and so it'll not be just bidding for the pump itself, but also the installation, you know, controls and things on that pump.
I have a question. How come on the other professional services, they went up substantially, and on this one, it went down?
Well, it depends what we had going last year, and it's not a, it actually dropped a little bit, but we were wrapping up major projects and things at the water treatment plant. And so we did have some things that was kind of left over and some additional consulting that we needed. But this is actually smaller projects that we're looking at right now. So that 60 should cover it. Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Weaver, I have one question as well. As far as operations goes, does the weather have any effect on that? Like having a warmer winter, does that help or hurt at all?
Well, the temperature not so much. What does affect is, we're a surface water treatment plant, so we have a reservoir. So, and we'll get into that a little bit too. But that reservoir is pretty shallow. So when there's a big flow, it stirs it up. So then we're dealing with, that sediment and thing that's been stirred up. So it takes a little bit more coagulant. We have settling basins that it goes through. So we're feeding it, it goes through what you call flocculators when we add the coagulant. It goes from there into rapid sand filters, and then that is pulled out. We back flush it, send it out to lagoons. And one of the big items that you'll see on there that really did bump this year was lagoon sludge removal. We don't remove it every year. Sometimes we'll just take a small amount, but we're due for a major cleaning. So there's 2 lagoons on the side that are the major settling basins, and then you overflow into one in the center, and then after that settles out, actually the clean water flows back out to the Tusk. So, not to Tusk, to Wolf Creek, I'm sorry. But, so that's what that line item is about as well. And that's the contractor that we use. They take it and they actually apply that on the farm fields. It's, a good soil amendment.
Is that sold?
It's not sold, no.
No?
No, we're happy that somebody will take it. But no, it does help as far as as a blend with the soil for breaking up the soil. But there isn't a lot of nutrients from water plant sludge. Almost none. There is a lot of nutrients in sludge from wastewater treatment. But that's even getting stickier now too. Less farmers want to take that. Less farmers want to take that because of issues that are new issues, emerging ones that have come down the line, like PFAS, that we've heard a lot in the news. And so they're all concerned about that. So the easiest way for us to get rid of it now is to just take it to a landfill. And it's pretty close on cost.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there's always something new you're dealing with. And the regulations keep changing and new challenges all the time. So you've got to be ready to change.
Thank you, sir.
And chemicals is one too that if you look back to 2021, chemicals were about 456,000. Last year they were over $1 million. And inflation hit chemicals real hard. And everybody would heard how chlorine went up, during COVID. The chlorine spiked like crazy, and it was difficult to get. You couldn't hardly get a bid on it. And if you did have a bid, all of them were claiming force majeure, which was, they were forcing us to pay more money even though we had bid prices. It was a real mess. It stabilized somewhat. It dropped back just a little bit, you'll see this year, but the prices have really stayed up there. And that was a major hit on the water side.
But we got to keep the water clean. So.
Yes, we have to do that. Yeah, so we have to have it. And on the, we talked about the high service pump. That's at 180,000. We have another 20,000 that's in there that is for fencing on the building. We have water wells in addition to the reservoir. We've got 3 of them. And if we go through a dry period, we turn those wells on and we pump them directly to the reservoir so we can bring the reservoir back up. It's not used all the time. When we do that, the water will be a little bit harder than, because we're not a lime soda softening plant. We're a surface water plant, so we don't soften. But we do have adequate water for when those dry times come. And we've raised those up. The EPA required us to raise the platforms on those a couple of years back, and now we're fencing the entire area for each one of those 3 wells. The other 20,000 would just be related to things like pumps. Let's say if we were to lose some of our metering pumps, you know, for chemical feeds or some of the other transfer pumps and things that we have at the water plant, we can take care of those as well. And then the major project at the water treatment plant is the dam. And our dam was constructed, actually the plans were done in 1924, so it was constructed for a couple years following that. It was just about 2 years to build it. So we're approaching 100 years old. Now, we've done lots of work to the dam over the years, but it no longer meets the standards that we have today. I mean, the dam is safe, but it is not a style of dam that they approve now. We have what they call a Amperson style dam. It is hollow core. There are what's called buttress walls that are interior to it. Some of you had the opportunity to actually tour that opportunity. There's a walkway through the middle. What we'll be doing is converting that to a gravity style dam, which means that those individual compartments will be filled with concrete. And there'll be quite a bit of work done to the face of the dam as well as the overflow side. It'll essentially be a new dam when we're done. The lifespan of this dam will be the same as if we, removed it and put another one in place. Kind of hard to do when you're holding back about 650 million gallons. So this seemed to be the best approach. It was the best economically. In order to do this, it is a major project and would really hit us hard on rates. And so what we did is we saw this coming. We were looking for grants that were available, and following a couple of dam failures in Michigan, along came FEMA with some opportunities for funding. So we took advantage of that. Had to go through the rounds a couple of times, but last year we got the good news that we are funded at 90% from the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program through FEMA. So this is going to be close to a $10 million project, covered at 90%, and that also includes design. And as a backup to that, we also applied for a grant from Ohio Public Works Commission for another $2 million, because it's highly likely that the cost of this will increase some, and we're going through the review process with ODNR. Ohio Department of Natural Resources regulates dams in the state of Ohio. So we're going through hearings with them. They're talking about the hydrology of it and the hydraulics and what they call PMF, or the probable maximum flood, and and our engineers have made models of these floods, and we're going back and forth with ODNR on this whole thing now. It looks like they're going to require some additional overflows for it, the emergency overflow, as well as hardening in the roadway. So we don't know exactly what that'll cost, but we have taken the proper steps to make sure that we have funding in place to cover this as much as possible. So that was one of the happiest days I've had is doing this job. To see that grant come through, there was a lot of effort put in that by a lot of people, the administration and using consultants and people on our staff. It was a real accomplishment. So we're looking forward to that one getting underway. That should be bid by June, if not by June, in the early weeks of June. So those will open somewhere around July. We'll have a bid recommendation in August. You'll be in recess at that time, of course. So we'll do the award sometime in September. So that project should get underway in the fall of this year. So that'll be an interesting project as it goes forward. So really looking forward to that. And let's see what else there. Okay. One of the projects, not nearly as expensive, thank God at this point anyway, is we are required by the EPA, and this is a federal requirement, to inventory all of our service lines that are in the system. Service lines I've seen a lot to do with Flint, Michigan over the years and the issues that they have had. Barberton is very rare has a lead service line ever been found. I've been with the city now for over 48 years, and I can only recall a couple of them during that entire time ever being discovered. And most, we have a good portion, not most, but we have a good portion that is copper. We've been requiring copper since the 1970s, and then more recently, we do allow plastic. And since those have actually proven to work out pretty well. But there are galvanized lines that are out there. And the EPA is going to require that all those galvanized lines be replaced 10 years after the survey is taken. So we'll be posting probably in the next week or so a link that will be on the city website, and where our residents or customers can go and take the survey. They'll actually take a picture of where their water line comes through the wall right by the meter. And there's instructions on there to tell them how to identify what it's made of. You know, and it's pretty obvious, but with the picture, we can kind of confirm that as well. If there's any other questions, we'll make arrangements to make a site visit to the house and check it. But, and so we'll expect a lot of phone calls on that when we start. So we'll roll it out first on the website, and then on social media, be putting that out there with a link, and then we'll start sending some mailers out to people who have not yet responded. We'll do that, we'll phase it over a couple of months so that we can reach as many as possible. The better that survey is, the better our information is going to be, so we can plan accordingly for the replacement of those galvanized service lines. So that's the other big one that is going on, and so that'll lead to a lot down the road. So, I miss anything? I think I've got it. So let's back up just a little bit and go to revenues. And as I said earlier, and let's go to page 146, and that's the sewer revenues. This was a challenge this year to beat this budget. I submitted a draft budget that was back in September. Got notification from Mr. Flaker that we had to make some changes. We had to do some cuts. We also had to look at a rate increase, something that we don't want to do. But I did recommend a 5% rate increase on the, which would take effect with the bill due in April. A 5% rate increase would generate about $193,000 for us this year. If we, on a full year, it would generate about $258,000. So it brings some in. It takes some of the edge off. It doesn't answer all of our needs, but I would rather see small bites than hit people with big rate increases. I think that's the worst thing that we could do, especially during a time of inflation. Our costs have risen, but so have our customers, as for now. So I think this was the most reasonable way to roll this out. And just as an example of what this would cost our customers, for a customer with water and sewer using the minimum bill, so this would be the majority of people that are retired, their bill would rise $1.68 per month. The state considers an average user 4,000 gallons a month, and if you use 4,000 gallons, and so that would be $2.68 for a month. And a family to have a number of kids, and if you're using up around 5,000, and that's the number that I've always gone to as far as these calculations, It'd be $3.35 if he was using 5,000 gallons. So we're trying not to hit people too hard, but we need to have some adjustment with this. We did do a rate increase last year. We did 5% the 3 years previous. We went for a couple of years prior to that without rate increases. I think it was 2 years in water, 1 year in sewer where we did. So over the past 10 years, it's been about half and half, you know. So we've kept those under control. Now, how do we, the big thing I think is how do we compare with the rest of the state of Ohio? And a good thing for us on the sewer side is we don't have combined sewers. You see all the big increases that are going on in Akron and the complaints. Their sewer bills just went through the roof. They'll pay more than $100 a month just for a sewer bill. But in the state of Ohio, the average sewer bill that's based on 4,000 gallons is $489.95. That's for the entire year. For Barberton, the average of 4,000 gallons is $279. So we're $210 under on the sewer side per year. That's about $25 a month, $24.53. And on the water side, the state average is $476, $476.93. In Barberton, it is $392.64. We're $84.29 less than the state average. And all rolled together, our water and sewer bills are, if you look at the midpoint for the state, we're $25 a month under the midpoint. So I think we compare pretty favorably. This survey is from 22, so it's 2 years old, and I'm comparing it to our rates going into 24. So there would even be a more of a span than what I'm reporting here. So we still do pretty well. We work hard to keep them down, and one reason why we go after all those grants and try to be very reasonable on how we do things. But are there any questions in regard to that rate increase? Okay, no one loves to do rate increases. I know for me, for sure. If you take a look at page 146, all of the revenues are there. Of course, the biggest part of our revenue comes from our customers in user rates. On that top line, it has sewer tap-in fees, and they're actually what we call system development charges. When somebody ties into the system, it is based upon, they pay a fee based upon backbone infrastructure. So if you're somebody, you've been in Barberton here all these years and you've been paying a bill, you're paying for improvements to the wastewater plant, trunk lines, major pump stations. And so it's calculated based upon the equity that is in that infrastructure, that is divided among all users. The connection fee for a new user is $1,600 that will go into the sewer fund. And so last year we brought in $176,000 with those fees. And I think everybody knows it was a big year for new houses and things. In 22, it was $327,000 on that year. So we're starting to see this drop back to more normal numbers. And there's different things. There's the Norton loan reimbursements, and what that is we carry loans for the Nash Heights area that was in Norton. We have the loans, they pay the debt service. And so that's where they pay us the debt service, and it goes into that line, and Jeremy writes the check. So dumping fees is like septic trucks, and we bring in some leachate from landfills as well, very little. We used to bring in a lot, but most of the truck waste now is from septic trucks. And Then there is some fees that comes in from the county. There's a county service line that comes in. We have a contract with them that should be kicking in this year, and that's why we're showing $130,000 there. And I thought it would last year, but it didn't. So we're expecting that to finally take off. And the rest of the income, if you look down on the bottom, there's no proceeds. So it's in loans. That's just income that we receive from any loans that we take on, grants. And is there any questions on the revenue side of that? And let's go to water revenue, which will look very similar. And the 5% water rate's a little higher than sewer, and so for 3/4 of the year we'll get about $265,850. So let's say $266,000 we'll be looking to generate from that rate increase. A full year would bring in $354,000.
I'm sorry, Mr. Weaver, what page are you on?
I'm sorry, 154.
Okay, hold on a second.
I know everything. And the line I was talking about had to do with user charges. So if you go down the third line, charges for service, that's the one that I was looking at for where I'm saying that additional funds is reflected in that $7.4 million that we're looking for in user rates. The top line on permits, our system development charges in water are $1,000 apiece, but there's quite a bit more revenue that you'll see coming in on the water side. That's because we tap the main, we charge for a meter, we put what we call an MIU on the side of the house. It's a meter interface unit, and that's how we read the meters. And so all of that is rolled into that that fund there, that line item. And as far as the rest, it's very close. There's assessments. Those have been possible in the past. Know that we assess one time a year. When you're a municipal utility, there's funds that they're very difficult to collect because people can move in and out. How do we get them? We tried collection agencies that didn't really work very well. And in the state of Ohio, or in almost all municipal utilities anywhere, the bill stays with the house. And so we started to try to do our collections at the time of transfer, and that's been effective. And so those can actually be assessed to the property, especially if we have a pretty high percentage of rentals. And so if the owners had a number of tenants that are in there, they left bills, we can have those put on the property taxes. And so we've collected quite a bit that way too. Been very effective. But and you'll see that reflected on the sewer side as well. But is there anything there that jumps out at you would like a further explanation on? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Where is, does Norton pay a premium for the water?
They do, as reflected in the user rates. On sewer, they pay 1.5 times the Barberton rate. And so that all comes back to us. On the water side, they pay 1.225 times the Barberton rate. And then there is a 27.5% surcharge that goes back to Norton, and they use that to put in more water lines. They're putting in a line out on 261. They're running lines down Haintown Road and different places. So putting a new water tower in this year. All that water for that comes from us. We maintain those lines, and the good thing is a lot of that infrastructure is newer, so we don't spend quite as much time on it. But we're seeing the 1.225 rate, so it's good for us. We're seeing growth in utilities, so that helps keep the rate structure down as well. If we utilize the capacity that we have, that generates income. Doesn't cost us that much more to do, because, you know, we've got the water, take a little more chemicals, we really don't need any more people for it. It's been very effective, and it's been worthwhile for us.
Can you say that again? The sewer was 1.225, what was the water?
I'm sorry?
Can you say that again? The sewer was 1.225, what was the water?
Yes, that's the multiplier. If you multiply the Barberton rate times 1.225, you get the Norton rate in water. That's what we keep.
Weren't there two different ones that you gave them?
Sewer was 1.5, water was
On
1.225.
Oh, okay, by the way.
We
Around
renegotiated
1.5.
that portion back in 2016. Council passed that in 2017. And we went from 1.225 to 1.5. And we now own all of the sewer lines in the city of Norton. Those all are Barberton owned. We own all of the backbone infrastructure for water in Norton. You know, our transmission lines, that type of thing. But they own their water lines, their distribution system to go to the different houses and businesses. Any more of that? I went into things I didn't intend to. Sorry about that. I have a tendency to get rolling. Yes?
You said that they're going to get a water tower. Will the water tower go to our water treatment?
We'll be the ones that'll fill it. Yes.
We fill it?
Yeah, because, well, we're charging for the water. We charge our customers. They get a Barberton bill just like we do.
Okay.
Only theirs is higher.
I guess I didn't realize how the water got in the tower, so that makes sense. Okay.
Yes, yeah, we're selling water.
So matter of fact.
Very well.
Anything else? If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I'll do my best to answer.
Thank you.
Sir, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Weaver.
Just want to break for a second. I want to thank Mr. Austin and his class for being here. I know if you had to leave, our city budget has to be passed by state law by the end of March. So we're having department heads go through with city council and explain the budget and answer any questions. So this is our third or fourth week of doing this. We've got a few more weeks for them to actually vote on it, and they have to pass by the end of March. So you guys are sitting through, there's a lot of numbers, some chemistry, a little bit of everything. So there will be a test at the end. No, so I want to kind of explain what you're sitting through. Typically, once the budget's passed, it's not this lengthy or in-depth, but this is a very important piece of the puzzle for the entire year. So.
All right, so we'll keep talking about utilities, because why not? But this, I'll try to keep it short and sweet. So we're going to start with collection, our collection system, page 151. So in collection systems part of the sewer fund, so this is the guys that repair the lines, jet the sewers, do that kind of thing. So the top portion is our wages. Our wages, so for this department, are fairly unpredictable. So these are the guys that get called out in the middle of the night when your sewer backs up and they have to clean sewers. So we like to always err on the side of caution and keep that budget comfortably higher than what the previous years were, just because you don't know what's going to happen. Last year, I mean, knock on wood, our overtime wasn't super high. We actually were underneath what we budgeted. We came in at 192,000. We budgeted 500. This year we bumped it up a little bit, just because, again, the unpredictability of the nature of this system. Moving down through, if you go to operations and maintenance, you'll see that the professional services fund has kind of went up in that. So a lot of that's our consultants, engineering firms, things like that, to help plan water lines. If we want to replace more water lines, it's going to cost us more money to plan to replace more water lines. So our professional services have to stay up with what we want to do as a city. And moving down through there, the rest of them have stayed pretty well the same. Electric power, we budgeted 120 last year. We spent 103. We budgeted 120 again. Hopefully we only spend 103 again. But we want to be able to make sure that we keep the lights on. And then capital. So our capital, you'll see we're in some aging buildings. We always like to have a little bit of funds in the building department there. That replaces garage doors, leaky roofs, gutters, things around the building down there. The 125 for equipment furnishings. So we're looking at replacing some aging equipment, our compressor. We're looking at possible replacement in our camera truck. And then we're looking at some newer technology that uses sound waves to get through our system a little faster. It's called SLRAT. Again, I can talk kind of like Danny if you want to come talk process. See me in my office, and I'll tell you all about how we can use sound waves to test these sewers. And then the next line, vehicles, we're looking at replacing a service truck. So we bought a service truck 3 years ago. It was $134,000 at that point in time. This department, so it being collection and distribution, we can split it between the two funds. So this is a portion of the funds for that service truck. So that's kind of, and then the infrastructure. So that is the actual replacement of the lines. So when we go out and we hire somebody, again, we try to apply for as much grant funding as we can, but that $250,000 is the actual replacement of the lines that we find that need worked on. So with the collection system, does anybody have any questions? Yes, Rebecca.
What was the sound wave program called again?
So it's called an SLRAT. So it's a proprietary system. We actually have used it in our system before. And again, it's a matter of setting up a sending device and a receiving device on manholes. It uses sound waves. It'll tell you whether that sewer is blocked or not. So by listening for the sound through the sewer, it tells you whether there's obstructions. So that allows us to focus on cleaning that. If you go through down an entire road and there's 0 obstructions, why do we need to spend 4 guys out there with sewer jet and pulling manhole lids, jet and sewers, when we can just pick up a sending unit and move down the road?
That's pretty cool.
So it's something that, like I said, we've used in the past. We're looking at action investing as a city just to get through our system and to meet some EPA requirements. Any other questions? Then we'll go to distribution. So distribution starts on, let me just double check, 158. So our distribution system is our water lines. So that's what feeds the houses, fire hydrants, fire protection, in the water towers. And so these are the guys that are, again, up in the middle of the night, fixing the water that's coming out of the road. Just the other day we had a break over on Fairview. Guys responded and took care of it. So you can see that budget's a little bit more. So a higher percentage of the guys' wage splits come from the distribution system, but it also creates a lot of revenue selling the water to the north, like we were talking about. So going down through there, professional services, again, last year we budgeted 80, spent 34. This year we've got 80 in the budget, hoping to replace some more water lines and get some more applications in for OPWC, because Taylor Road, OPWC is funding that at 64, 65%, something like that. It's costing us 35% as a municipality. So if we can do that every year, that's free money. We're replacing a lot of lines for a third of the cost. Moving down through there, most of the rest of those line items are fairly similar to what we have spent in the past. Nothing's really major has changed in those line items, operations and maintenance. And then the next page 159, is capital. So similar to the sewer budget. Utilities, 10,000 on the building. Again, those are combined structures down there, so there's 20 in sewer, 10 in water. Again, they're all the same building, so we kind of split those funds between the two budgets. The equipment furnishings, 125,000. So half the compressor. We're looking at a new tap machine, which what it does is it taps. So we install a T, you put a valve on the end of it, tap machine taps through the valve, you pull it out, turn the valve off, take the tap machine off, and you continue running your water line. Some of our stuff is aging, it's old. We do a lot of taps, and it's a capability that's nice to have. There's a lot of other communities that pay to have a contractor come in and make every tap, and we have found that it's more cost effective, and it's right on hand. If we need to do something, for instance, Malco Products down there, was having a hard time passing fire flow. So we decided to move them from a dead end 6-inch line to a 12-inch line that crosses the tusk. And our guys went out, and in a day we were able to make a tap, run a new water line, increase the size of their feed, and they haven't had a problem, I don't believe, since with fire flow tests. So it's a capability that's awesome for us to have. And then the vehicle line, there's 100,000 there. That's the other portion of the service truck. Like I said, 2 years ago it was $134,000. We budgeted 160 or 165 this year, just expecting some inflation. And then infrastructure, so that's a zero. You'll see last year we budgeted 350. This year it's zero. We actually moved that to the 220 or 520 budget, which is on 161, page 161. And this is the water replacement and improvement fund. So the infrastructure will now come out of that. You can see 2/3 of the way down the page. We've actually got 700,000 in there this year, hoping to replace some water lines. We're waiting on some results, just like the screw pumps down at the wastewater plant. We're waiting on some results from the OPWC scoring, and can hopefully knock out some water lines this year. Anybody got any questions about the water budget? Yes.
Thank you. What's the Wadsworth lease and right of way on 161?
So I believe that is the well.
Yes, that's
down at Rose
down at
Hollow.
Rose Hollow. We leased them a well, and that'll start to go up. It was timed out where that'll begin to escalate now.
So yeah, so we own property at Rose Hollow. Wadsworth put a well in, and they're pumping water from Rose Hollow to Wadsworth, and we are collecting money because it's on our property. So that's what that revenue source is.
Mr. Weaver, you said it's gonna go up?
Yes, there's a spreadsheet, and it's all laid out there as how the rates go as time goes on.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last budget is the planning department. Pete, come up, the director.
Director, I'm so sorry. Is there any way we can do this during the committee of the whole and just take a quick 5 minutes after we adjourn? Oh, during the committee I can? Okay. We'll do that. Let's take a 5 and then we'll be back. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Get your stuff.
Waiting on you.
Try to hold on, I got in trouble too, so.
All righty, go for it.
All right, we're back. Thank you, guys. Sorry, Director. If you want to go ahead and move on with the budget for planning.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. So we're going to start on page 76, and I'll try and keep this brief for everyone. So page 76, just going to kind of be the end of section 4 there. That's going to outline salaries and employee benefits for the 4 of us up in the planning department. If there are any questions about any of those numbers, please just let me know. If not, we can move on to page 77, which is going to be a little bit more of what we're actually working on. So most of the numbers are pretty consistent with last year. Some of the increases that you will see, though, we're going to see in professional services. Last year we had $195,000